It's time for the show about the people and the places of the Carolinas with the occasional visitors. In addition to hosting the award-winning syndicated TV show Life in the Carolinas, Carl White writes a weekly syndicated column and now hosts this weekly show, the Life in the Carolinas podcast. Now you can hear the story about the stories. And now, here's your host, Carl White.
How you doing, Karen?
Yes, I'm good.
Yeah.
And you?
Yeah, good. When I was talking to Tim, because I know you know Tim well, and Tim has spoke so highly of you for years.
Oh, wow.
And he's always like, you got to meet Karen. You got to meet Karen. She's great. And then I would look at your reels and all the things that you've done in storytelling that I find fantastic.
Thank you.
And I said, the time will present itself. Mm-hmm. It'll all work out. Mm-hmm. And it has. And he was like, well, what are you going to talk about? I said, we're just going to have a conversation.
Good.
I can tell she's a great conversationalist. At least she can act like one, so I believe she is.
There you go.
You know, War Room and all of those things. Before we get into all that, why don't you share with everybody kind of where Karen came from? How'd this all start?
Well, I grew up outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Little town called Aliquippa.
Aliquippa?
Aliquippa. And one of 5 kids. Mm-hmm. And my mom, well, I didn't even know for a long time because you just don't know. You're young, you don't see these things. But she was an alcoholic. Dad was an alcoholic. Right. But he really started drinking after he had come down with multiple sclerosis.
Oh, wow.
Where we grew up still was king. So everybody in that part of Aliquippa, Pittsburgh, they all worked in the steel mill, right, for generations.
Sure.
And
which is grueling on the body.
Yeah. But it is, that's what
that was it.
Yeah.
Right.
And so the more he was home, after he got his diagnosis, he'd be just drinking. Right. And so I became the parent, the mom, taking care of the younger siblings. And I don't know if that is where my imagination came from, where I would go and just be, be young, be free.
So you had to, it sounds, let me understand this, correct. So you were young, but yet you had to take on responsibility.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And in that responsibility, to keep your sanity, maybe, you would have to find ways to still be young.
I guess, or it was there, the mechanism, and maybe that was what turned it on. Okay. Obviously it was always inside the creativity. But I do remember my mom and other people telling me that I had an imaginary friend. Yeah.
Did you?
Okay. I don't remember. I just always had a very vivid imagination, and in my neighborhood I would write and direct plays and direct my neighbors and their kids.
At what
and
age?
If there were grandkids. I don't know, 9, 10.
Okay, so you're real young.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And whenever I saw like these wonderful musicals on television, we'd reenact them, and I'd get everybody, you're this, you're that, I'll be playing this role and whatnot. But so many wonderful, and back in the day, everybody had a musical. Elvis Presley, he was doing all the musicals.
Right.
And then, not Connie Francis, but Debbie Reynolds.
Yes.
She was doing television musicals, and it was just wonderful. But, yeah.
It was such a wonderful time to feel powerful music as well. Because when you talk about Aretha Franklin, and you go the spectrum, no matter who, whether it's Frank Sinatra, whether it's Elvis, Nina Simone, the depth of the feelings that were there, and it was rich. Not that there's not some of that now, but these were people that were powerful, had powerful voices.
And you know, it was an interesting time too, because say with Nina, a lot of her songs had to do with social issues,
Right.
You know, the isms, racism, classism,
Right.
And Frank, he knew a lot of the, you know, where he was coming from,
Right,
you know,
right.
like the mob and
Right, right.
whatnot, you know.
That's right.
And so, yeah, they were singing from places that were so deep and so real that music just would escape and
I love
tell
that.
a story.
How do you see that compares and contrasts to music today?
Oh, gosh. Sometimes it's hard to find good music, you know. A lot of it is just, it's almost mechanical. And
Right.
whatever is in hip and cool right now,
Right.
the trend, then everybody runs and they jump on that bandwagon and whatnot. But like up here, oh, let me go back a little bit. Growing up, I loved Andy Griffith.
Oh, right.
So needless to say, when I got down this way and I drive past Mount Airy and I know
Right.
that it was Mount Pilot
You'd stop
and all of
there.
that. But, you know, the beautiful stories and written in there. But what I loved was some of the musical artists that he would have on his show.
Oh, sure.
Okay,
Sure.
of course, Lester, Earl and Lester,
Right.
you know, blew me away. Even as a kid, I recognized the spirit that was coming out of both of these guys as they played.
It was magical.
You know,
wasn't
it was magic. The highest level of artistry. You hear me?
You know, their fan base and the concerts that they would put on. I mean, they were, well, they were,
Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs.
they were the rock stars of the day. They were Elvis before Elvis, right?
Yeah.
They were the crowds that would show up was absolutely amazing. Nobody had done anything like that before them, and it was. I think, I mean, the sound of the music, but the showmanship and
yeah.
just there's nowhere to hide in that type of music performance. I mean, you don't have there are no smoke screens there.
No.
If you're a good banjo player, you're a good banjo player.
Right.
And they were
right.
great.
They were excellent. And didn't have to dress up and put on a whole show. They just
Right.
came and they delivered.
Talent.
Excellent. And then there was that family. They were good too. I forget their last name, but the song was "Won't You Be My Something Something." The youngest girl, they were from back in the woods, and they would come and visit Andy every once in a while. And the daughter had a terrible crush on Andy. You know.
Oh my gosh!
You know what I'm
yes,
talking about?
yes. Oh my God, it'll come to
No,
us.
but they were great.
Yeah,
They were great
yeah.
artists.
That's right. You could tell that the performance ability to bring those characters to life. That takes a lot of talent. I mean, for you or I just to go and do a part that, well, it may stretch us, but it's kind of still you or I doing it. You know, but to transform yourself. Well, I've seen you transform in some movies, but transform yourself to a believable lifestyle character.
That's very true, because not only
Darlings.
Yes, the darlings. That's good. That's good. They were the darlings. I love the darlings, and
Yes.
not only were they excellent musicians, they were great performers, actors.
Oh, sure. That's
they were
right.
wonderful.
That was the point, yeah.
And I loved. I think it was. Was it the brother who you know,
Yes,
on
yes,
the bottle?
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, that's
But the
right.
whole show across the board was written beautifully, and some of the finest actors I've ever seen. Come on, Don Knotts.
Don't you think that's why that show still has viewers today?
Yes, but the storylines too. I can watch them today and cry.
Completely relatable.
You know?
Completely
I can
relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing the things that kind of reach people over the decades, right? Over all the years, the things the things that mean something to you and I, and to here's something I never truly understood, and that's the names we give to people at certain ages and times. You know, like the baby boomers, and now we have Gen Z, Gen X, all of that.
I don't like that.
I think that young people are always the same. When we're young, we want to experience and do things. Parents are always going to say, "No, you're going to kill yourself."
Yeah,
don't do that. You're gonna. That's bad. Don't do that. And yet, they done the same thing.
Right.
And they know they did, but they're trying to keep you from getting hurt like they did, right? So I get all that. I just don't think there's a big difference. I don't think there's a big difference in people 300 years ago and now. As far as we have a story, not to get totally. I don't think there is a track. We're talking about everything.
Oh, we're covering it all.
So we have a project called Boone Project, and we're looking at this person, Daniel Boone, and his wife Rebecca. And, you know, they came to live. They eventually lived in North Carolina, and then they went to Kentucky and done all sorts of things. But they were Quakers, and so they were in Pennsylvania. That's where they started. That's where their mom and dad was. And here's what happened. So they were Quakers, and some of Daniel's brothers and sisters had a little itch that they needed to scratch that didn't involve other people in the Quaker community. Okay. Right? So they weren't allowed to fraternize with people outside, you know, that circle. Right. So I think it was one of the boys did, and then so they were kind of put on, timeout and probation. and then one of the daughters, she did. And then that became a problem. Long story short, they get shunned. Their backs turned on them. They got to leave, right? Well, it's their club, you know, so whatever. Whatever. That was their law. And then I looked at that story, and here's a mom and dad, and Squire was the father, and he said, I guess enough. And they had business. They were successful in the community, but they left. Well, they were shunned, but they needed to leave, but it seemed like they were, okay, let's get out of here. And they did. They come to Virginia and then North Carolina. And then his mom and dad, they died in North Carolina. But Daniel Boone, he did other things. But if you look at that story, and this is back, you know, before the founding of America, and it's just budding up to that time period. So if you look at that behavior, it's the same today. Oh, gosh, yeah. It's the same today, you know. And we distance ourselves or try to distance ourselves and don't want to talk about history or pieces of it for whatever reason. And I'm like, that's where all the lessons are. Absolutely. You want to know what to do? You just look at your, you know, your upline. Your people. Because
Nothing's new, really.
No, and see if there's some of the mistakes you would like to recreate. If so, just follow their pattern. If not, well, just do this instead of that. Because it usually ends up the same way, doesn't it?
Yeah, that is very interesting, but so true.
Yeah. Yeah, I you know, Daniel, one other little thing, and it's just the way history treats things, because, you know, in the entertainment business, we like to make things our own. Right. So we took Daniel Boone and put him in a coonskin hat. He didn't wear a coonskin hat. He had even written in his own journal that he hated them. So he wore like a leather hat, like the Quakers would wear. He did not wear a coonskin hat. But Bess Parker on TV shows and the movies always had coonskin hat. So I guess maybe it was easier, certainly from a prop standpoint. It would be easier to keep in shape, right? So who knows the reason why? But it became part of. There were songs sung about, educational records made. We have them, that the songs would talk about Daniel Boone and his coonskin hat. Yes.
I remember as a kid learning.
And killing all the Indians. Well, he killed very few Indians. But when Hollywood, the entertainment world, you know, we take things and sensationalize them.
Yes, we do.
Right? And knowing the difference, though, is where the freedom is. That doesn't mean that it wasn't a good show or a good movie, right?
Right.
I mean, everything in War Room, it's like, okay, there's some stuff there, but then there may be some stuff that's, exaggerated. That's the way it is.
Absolutely.
You and I, as humans, it's our responsibility to do a little searching and kind of know the truth, right?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes.
I don't worry. I don't know. What do you think about this? I hear a lot. The media gets blamed for a lot of stuff. They're like, well, the media, say this and they're so negative and negative. I said, well, why just don't watch that one. Watch your local news, which they're definitely covering what's happening in your community.
Neighborhood, right?
And I've always liked that. I don't know how much I care to spend time listening to a news person give me their commentary, what they think about it, right? And that's usually on cable anyway.
Yes.
And that's all fine, but you and I, Karen, it's your responsibility, my responsibility, to know the difference of what's true or not true.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
And then do you think that if we do happen to glance over and we see something and maybe it's, that's not right, it doesn't upset me. It doesn't mess my day up. I'm just like, I turn it off or walk away. I don't care. Do you?
I do care, but I don't watch a lot of it, because if you watch a lot of it, then you're not living. You're caught up.
Yes,
You're
that's
stuck
it. But
there.
tell me
Some
how
people watch it all day long, and if
they're not living life.
They're not living life, and they're miserable.
Yeah, that's it.
Life has enough challenges.
Right. So so that I understand and people listening can understand, because we had a little moment there of where you said you do care but you don't watch, because maybe we're caring the same way, maybe we're not. I don't know. When you say you do care, what is it that you care about?
I care about the struggle of humanity. I care that someone's child has been kidnapped. I care that someone doesn't have enough food to eat.
Right.
Those things I care about, but I also know that many of the stations, they just sensationalize and whatever, because they want to keep you fearful with your fearful. I gotta know what's going on every second of the day, and 9 times out of 10, it's so terrible.
Well, especially when it's a network that this is what they do, and bless them for that. That's great. But there's just not. Here's what I believe. There's just not that enough bad stuff to keep fresh stuff rolling. And for whatever reason, the good stuff is considered soft. And I'm like, the good stories are the most powerful, hard-hitting things that you could ever experience, because it changes your life.
Hope-filled.
Yes.
All of that. All of that.
What do you do about that? How do you live your life in a way that counteracts that, or how do you protect yourself from that barrage?
Carl, I am the crazy person. Coming up the street or in the grocery store. Hey, good morning.
Yeah.
How are you? I love the color of your eyes. Oh, you've got a beautiful smile.
Yeah.
And
is this to strangers?
Just to see, yes.
To strangers.
Yes.
How does that? How does it make you feel? But more so than that, what is the reaction you get from other people?
Some people will stop and cry. Thank you. I needed to hear that. Somebody sees me. Somebody's noticed something about me in this crazy, busy, super busy, frenetic
right.
world.
That's right.
I'm being seen.
Being seen.
Being seen, yeah.
That's wonderful.
I'm here. Wow.
Yeah. Can you imagine that as you look back in your life when you're this little girl, 8, 9, 10 years old, was there a little bit of that happening with you? That was your way of bringing these stories up. That was your way of being seen also, and helping the other kids be seen too?
Perhaps without me knowing, but I lived in a community, and you know how people talk about the villages. There are no villages anymore. Well, I lived in a village. And so if my mother wasn't there, there was somebody always watching, made sure we had something to eat or keeping an eye on us, And I have to say I am an extraordinary master oral storyteller. I love the art of telling stories.
Yes.
And it's all because of Miss Daisy, like 4 doors down. Now, Miss Daisy, she was somewhat like, she was a little bit of Granny from the Beverly Hillbillies and some other people.
Right.
She could shoot. At a garden, they had pigs.
Right.
She was, she could wrestle a bear if she needed to. She could do it. And she loved fishing. But what she did, she was a wonderful storyteller. And she told scary stories. She was a master. And Carl, you would not be able to sleep for a week after Miss Daisy told her stories.
Do you remember, what was your favorite one?
Oh, it about the lady near the airport dressed in a wedding dress. And if she shows up, at nighttime, the rain will start to fall and as she walks to your car and reaches the door to get in. And she would use voices and everything. And see, what she would do is she would call the kids, and the other kids would call the other kids. Hey, everybody, Miss Daisy's telling a story. Right. Kids would come from all directions, and we'd sit on her back porch. And she would bring out some biscuits and stuff that she had left over from breakfast, and bacon and sausage, and we're sitting there, and we are glued, mouths open, some sweaty and dirty from playing out. But I'm telling you, she was a master. So when I tell a story, it is her I give thanks for that time and whatnot. And I tell people sometimes, it's interesting. I speak all over the world. And a lot of women, when am I going to get my calling? When am I going to get my calling? I don't know. My thing is, a lot of people feel that they are not, they have not arrived if they're not up on stage and everybody's looking at them.
Right.
But every time I take the stage, Miss Daisy is with me because I'm using what she deposited in me.
I love that. Those influences in our life that once it's there, it's always there.
It's always there.
So for the ones who are, I haven't reached it. I haven't found my spotlight. Maybe the beginning is not trying to get on stage, but going to the grocery store and saying, "You're so beautiful today." So bringing it to life down the street, places we go, and I'm as comfortable doing that as I am doing this or doing something, on a stage. I don't know that I know the difference. I mean, I truly don't know that I feel differently if I'm talking to a person one-on-one or if the cameras are around. I feel the same happiness.
Oh, beautiful.
I feel happy with us sitting here talking.
Yes.
When you came in this morning, we're talking for just we looked at artwork. We had a few niceties, but I knew we were going to sit down and have a conversation. And I had made a couple of notes, but I hadn't looked at those notes since I made them because it's already here. And I'm like, let's get to know each other.
Yes.
And that'll be a rich moment because neither one of us are afraid of it.
Right.
So getting somebody to not be afraid of expressing whatever voice it is that they have that seems good, that's the challenge.
Yes, and for people to know that no matter what you've gone through, if you've come through it, it makes you a bit of a specialist.
That's right.
Because you've survived it. So someone else going through it, you can help them out.
That's right. Just by telling your story.
Telling your story.
Not trying to fix them.
Not
just,
trying to fix
hey,
them.
this is what we're doing now. I think, is the powerful medicine. This is when you go to the pharmacy and you got to show your driver's license and you got to validate everything and do a blood test before you get the drugs, so to make sure you're not already hooked, right?
Yes, yes.
That's how powerful what you and I are doing now, because we are comfortably having a long chat.
Yes.
And for people who, and this is not a disparaging remark on technology. However, when you're limiting in your thoughts to a few words or an abbreviation, and you can't do what you and I are doing now.
Right.
It doesn't have to be in front of an audience, but just having a conversation with someone and listening to the other person and responding. Conversation is so powerful.
It is. What a concept.
You know, I have friends, and I don't do political stories, but I have a lot of friends who are politicians, just because, not because they're but because of the business or some other philanthropic thing they've done, and they just happen to want to serve as well.
Right.
So those are the ones that I would know because of what I do.
Right.
But some of those people, when I look at their politics, some are way over here, some are way over here, some are in the middle, and it's like, oh my gosh, if I never talk about that part of it, but I want to hear their story.
Yeah.
And all of them, without exception, the ones I talk to anyway, there's some core of goodness and service to mankind. And that's why they've entered the business they're in now, which is serving community. Maybe it's a big community. It's complicated, you know, to understand that whole picture. But the reason why of wanting to, you know, help other people, that's pretty good. I know there's another collection of folks that's just in it for the money and all that. I understand that part. But I think for the most part, I really do believe, Karen, if we line up 1,000 people, any 1,000 people, I don't care where it is, what town we go to, your hometown, my hometown, any other hometown, home city, whatever you want to call it, if you get 1,000 people randomly, take them alphabetically, don't you know, try to look at race or age, just take alphabetically, right? I'm going to get 10 A's, 10 B's, 10 C's, you know, just go down the line.
Right.
And you get all those. I would bet you 100 pounds of Kona coffee beans, and that would be a lot of money, that there would be more good people than bad. There will be more people there that care than not care.
Yes.
And that's the power that we should, and it would be completely, remember years ago there was a show on TV, I can't remember the name of it, but the guy would throw a dart on a map, toward the map, and wherever it would land, that's where he would go. And he would just go there, randomly he'd go there and find a story, right? And it was, I mean, it was totally random where he would go. And he always found a good story, no matter where he went. There was always a good story there.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, that's a pretty good thing. I mean, there's some places that it might be a little harder to look for. There may not be 1,000 people, you know, in some areas. But I think there's more good than bad. What do you think?
Definitely. And we have more in common than we don't. I'm kicking off what I call living simply, naturally, and well. And part of that is just stepping away from the busy, making sure you're doing the things that make your heart sing, and just reprioritizing the people and everything else in your life.
Right.
And also, a part of that is, you know, I'm a hiker, a kayaker. I am Earth Mother. I love the great outdoors. I do. And so one of the things I like to do is travel to places and hike, you know, these different places. So I'm going to be traveling the world and just capturing, hopefully, not just in my heart, soul, and spirit, natural beauty, but I'm going to have my camera and try to capture it, you know, as best I can. But I'm also going to be looking for opportunities to have authentic, immersive experiences with people. from different cultures.
I love that.
You know, we all really want the same stuff, but we
Yes.
let a lot of things get in the way, whether they were things we were taught or
Right.
stories we saw on a television show, and we
Right,
believe them. You know,
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
so I think that can also help to break down some junk, because I'm going to share it.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think that's where the power is. The power is in having an authentic personal experience with whomever, wherever you are, with whomever you're with.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's somebody you don't even know.
Yes.
That's the best,
Yes.
right? Because our need to not die miserable is to have people in our lives. It's not the stuff. A lot of people think, well, it's the stuff. Well, that's just a convenience. But I mean, you know, a clean bed's a clean bed. It doesn't have to be a monster house. Doesn't have to be a small house. Doesn't have to be a tent. You just want to be able to have a peaceful night's sleep.
Yes.
So however you find that. But during the day, what makes that sleep good is
Ooh.
your time with your feet on the earth, you know. Your time then with the people that you encounter of being kind and wonderful. Oh, that's what a wonderful thing for you to do now. Let me ask you this.
Yes.
We're both closer to the end than we are the beginning,
Yes.
right? Unless we just happen to be in that lucky 150 club, right? And I hope we are. I used to say all the time, so people say, well, what's your lifelong goal? I said, well, I'd like to be 110 when I die. I'd like to be interviewing a guy who's 112. And in the midst of the interview, I ask him a question. He's slow to respond, and I just drop dead right on set. And the producer yells out and says, my God, you bored him to death. What a way to go.
That's funny.
I don't know how many peptides I'll have to drink between now and then to keep that going. But I don't. It's just that idea of having fun and being kind throughout our entire life. And it doesn't matter where we start from. It makes no difference if you start early or you know, in your 50s or 60s, wherever you start from. Everything is the future and everything is the past.
Yes.
Our now, being present,
Yes.
being in the moment is so powerful.
Yes, it is.
I do not want there to be one regret when I lay down. I don't want there to be anything that I think, oh, I wish I'd asked Karen about this or that. I don't want there to be a regret.
Yes.
I don't want there to be a regret about, you know, a misunderstanding, or I just want to set things straight as best I can and move on and forget about it.
Yes.
And be strong enough to not pick it back up when somebody tries. I said, no,
Right.
that game's over. we done that
Absolutely.
volley is done. So I'm over here, and not everybody understands that, but that's kind of their problem, not mine.
Right, and that is so good. That's healthy.
Yeah.
And then you're not caught in the past or that moment,
Yeah.
chained down, tethered like a hawk by
Yes.
that leather cord. You know, you'll when people stay stuck, they'll never use the magnificent wings
Yes.
that we all have, because you can't fly.
And
when
it is metaphorically and physically in our real world, you know. This is iron ore. It's the byproduct, and slag. What is it? Slag is what they call this. This goes back to the founding of our nation, and you know, it's hard and it's rough, but when it's refined, it became railroads. It became part of building. That's a piece of history that was not far from here. And what happened, there was a great flood, and the flood washed away the mill that made this, and all of these pieces were buried at the bottom of the river.
Wow.
Not too long ago, there was another flood. And that flood came and cleaned all those hundreds of years of sediment off of that. And then this was there.
Oh, this is wonderful.
And how history is. You know, there are things that can clean away things, and there we all can. You know, it's something I didn't do, you didn't do, the person who found this didn't do it, but it was a part of our history, and it's not a railroad, and it got lost, but there it is. So those moments that we have with people,
Yes.
and more importantly, the moments we have with ourselves.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
When we go to sleep and we wake up in the morning, what's that feel like? And you're going on this journey. I love that. I just love the whole idea. I feel like I got lost there, but sometimes we get lost for a purpose, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Have you ever gotten lost with a purpose?
Over and over. And over and over, and I'm sure I will again too. You know, because we think slightly to the left is it, when you were probably already on the right track.
Right.
You know, sometimes we overthink or I almost said overfill. I don't know if that would be good. But
no, I think it might be very good because we get emotionally caught up in a moment, right? Something yanks our chain.
Yes.
something somebody says or something we see and we get incensed over it and it gets us off track a little bit, right? We allow that less powerful force to dominate us for a moment.
Stop you in your tracks.
Yeah, and we're like, well, what? And you get through it and you look back and says, that was just a waste of time. Yeah. But that's the human side of it, right?
It is part of our journey here.
Oh my gosh, you know, when we were walking down the hall and we were, obviously in the studio, it's Christmas time now, and I asked you a question because of a conversation I had with somebody else recently, which I would not have had unless we'd taken time to linger.
Right.
And it was about the spirit of Christmas and the idea of what that really is. And we kind of pulled the pieces back, and it seemed to be this thing of it's just kindness and goodness. And then in the conversation, we came to this, I think, kind of a logical conclusion that hey, Christmas, the spirit of Christmas and what it really is not, it's not gifts. That's just a thing. And I have no problem with that. Commerce is commerce. That's okay. But it's this thing that is an expression of people in kindness and generosity to other people and helping. So why do we it's not relocated just to a month. It can be 12 months, right? What do you think about that idea?
Definitely, moment to moment. And then when we understand that and we live in that, the quality of our lives, it's sweet, it's tender, it's all those things we really want. It's heaven.
Nice.
You know?
Yeah, I think so.
But we can do that because it's within our power to do that.
All the movies, we look back at all the movies. Everybody's got their favorite Christmas movies. And there was that movie, there have been a few of them that had the Christmas spirit meter, right? Often, whether it's a Hallmark movie or an old classic, it was the meter would make its way up and the Christmas spirit would make its way up. As people started to physically express their happiness and
love,
song,
kindness,
and people being together and believing in something, and then the meter would go up, and all of a sudden, the reindeer take off.
Yeah.
So, or the Grinch would climb down, whatever. It's that idea that is so powerful. I mean, if we just think about what people doing good things together, even if that good thing is doing nothing but coming together in a joyful celebration of song and dance, right?
Yes.
All of that.
Yes.
All of that's good.
I went to Philadelphia to work on a couple of days on a film. And we were right over the border, so we shot some in New Jersey, then back to Philly, and back and forth, back and forth. There was a moment that I went through like a green room, and people were just sitting around, 2 other people. And I don't know, the energy in that room. And then we started acting silly. And we got sillier and sillier. I haven't laughed that hard since I can remember. And we were rolling, our stomachs, the muscles hurt. But then I'm like, oh my gosh, why is that? That I don't laugh like that more often. I mean, on the floor, Carl, tears coming down.
I love that. Let me ask you this. The next scene that you went into, whatever it was, okay, on camera. So you had that moment. The next scene you go into on camera, how was that performance?
Extraordinary, because I was completely open, completely at peace, had released who knows what in that laughter, and I had connected deeply in just pure joy with these 2 other beings. Carl, I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Magic, isn't it?
Yes. That's funny you said that, because that's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Well, it was magic. And then you said it's magic.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
It was.
I years ago, it is contagious.
It is contagious.
That's what laughter is. When and there are different philosophies, a merry heart doeth good. Like it's a medicine, right? It is a medicine.
It is a medicine.
And I think the more physically we embody it, the stronger the medicine.
Oh my goodness, yes. I'm telling you, my blood pressure was probably 2. It was probably 2. 2 over 2.
Yeah. That's incredible. That's incredible. But that's the power of it, though. That's the power of Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, that idea of, I try to understand, because I've been doing Christmas shows for years. I mean, this is 15th season. I've only missed 1 year of not doing a Christmas show, a special. So we're doing one this year, and you're going to be on it. So I'm really glad about that. And it's all about Christmas memories. And, one of the things that, as we've been in production on that, in just talking with people, it's interesting at the commonality of some of the things that brought people joy. I remember a lot of the guys, it would be quite common for them to, like their slingshots and their BB guns or their bikes. And there was a police chief that we talked to, real tall guy, really nice guy, tall guy. And he told a story about one of his favorite Christmas memories when he was a little kid and he got this bicycle, right? And it was a little emotional for him, right? As he recalled that special moment. For some people, it was hard for them to find something meaningful, And you could, some people, they just say something to, so I go away, right? Move that microphone. But sometimes you could tell it was genuine, and people really connected with a moment in time. So that's another one of those energizing things for good things to happen moving forward, because we remember those positive moments. You described a moment of belly laughs, which hasn't been that long ago. So finding those, making those new memories.
Yes.
That where you can tell those stories, and it's not so far in the distance. You can't get a new bike over and over again. You get it one time. That's a powerful thing. So you've probably laughed before with other people. I know you have, just from, I don't even have to ask you the question. I can tell the way you lived your life and how you're expressing it. But this one, it was really profound, right?
Oh, yes.
And now you're like, oh, I got to do more of that.
Yes.
That's good stuff. It not only makes... I don't think it makes your performance better. I think it makes you better. So your performance is better.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're showing up. You're showing up empowered.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that the way?
Oh, that's so good. and perhaps a lot of things that I was still carrying, I had released. So I was completely open and available to do what it
Right.
is I
Your
stepped
appointed
there
task.
to do.
Right. That's
Yeah.
right. I love that. I love that. So that's something to learn, right? That's
It
a
is.
lesson that we can walk away. I think every day, there's a learning moment. It's whether we're still, or whether we're still enough to receive it or to give it.
Yes.
Because I think you got to be both.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If you're going to get the maximum value for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Your favorite movie you've worked on?
Oh gosh, well, I don't know. It varies, but
Yeah.
War Room definitely was at the top of
Right.
the list because I got to do character work, and I love to do character work. So
Yes.
yeah, and then a good message, a positive piece. You know.
Yeah, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I like the idea when we don't have to be perfect, but yet every now and then we get to deliver the perfect message.
Yes, yes.
That's pretty good.
And I think that the opportunity happens over and over again in our lives, and we don't realize the moment
Sure.
in that moment.
I think it's
Say that again.
Yeah.
I love the way you said it.
Well, the idea is, it's the perfect moment, or those moments in times that mean a lot to us and to others. We may be the giver or we may be the receiver. We just have to be open to that. It's the idea,
But
right?
when you are the giver, aren't you also the receiver? Because you receive some good stuff from putting good stuff out.
Here's what I
Right?
think happens. I think what we receive is a step up. I think when we give, when we're giving an idea, a message, a feeling, just when we're giving love and support in a nurturing kind of a way, that it's almost, it's beneficial to the other person because we're a vessel, nothing more than that. It's not like, oh, I'm doing this to get credit. And it's just the way the universe works. But I think when we're giving, I think if you imagine an elevation, I think we kind of rise a little bit.
Yes,
and it goes
we
down. See? And so
Yes.
then we're always, and I think life has a way of letting us go up and up and up. And then every now and then we're back over here. You know why? Because we're receiving.
Yeah.
So a giving vessel can only give because it receives. But to be part of that continuity and keeping it going forward, I think that's a bit of a mindset of where you wake up in the morning and say, okay, what next? What kind of magic you got laid out for me today, right? And that's, I know some people have a problem with the word, when you say magic. But
magic.
That's right. Yeah. And I don't worry a whole lot about those problems. It's all okay.
Right. It's okay.
Bless their hearts.
Big hug.
That's
Big
right.
hug. Much
That's
love.
right. I'm sure the darlings would. I just see him.
Oh yeah. Won't you be my
working on that jug.
Honey, won't you be my
Valentine.
No. Honey, won't you be my
Oh, you're testing
not
my
shiny dime.
something like that. That's
yeah.
right. That's right. Somebody's going to see this and they're going to be singing the whole thing.
Yeah.
Lyrics
And
are
then,
perfect.
Then write in.
Yeah.
Tell Carl.
Make sure you put if you're watching this, you remember those lines. Make sure you put it in the comments. That's really important. But you know what's the bigger importance is it's a happy moment, and we remembering a piece of it. It just kind of lightens you up a little bit, doesn't it? Being open to what lightens us up a little bit is also important, to recognize that and say, oh, that feels good. Let's do more of that.
Oh, it feels good.
And
that takes me back to the show, Andy Griffith's show. Otis would come in drunk. He was a great character actor, too.
He was great.
But what did Andy do? Opened
up.
the cell door, told him to go in. Do you need coffee? Because they always gave him coffee.
Right.
And I don't know if Aunt B had come down with some muffins or something.
Right.
They'd give him some of that. But the compassion.
That's right.
The kindness.
And didn't lock the door, but if he ever was locked, he could reach around and get the key.
Right there. But I love that too.
I do too.
Right, all of those elements. I don't think I ever remember the show explaining what had happened to Andy's wife. Obviously, she had died, Opie's mom.
Right.
But then Aunt B stepped in and,
Sure.
Just family, just beautiful and wow.
Did you know in real life she was a classically trained singer?
Yes, I did because, yes,
Right.
a fan.
Yeah. At times she felt that part was beneath her, but I think the checks made up for it. So I think sometimes you do that because you would never know. I remember learning that story and I was like, no, she just seems like such a natural, at that. And that's why she was a great actress.
Yeah.
She did the part.
Yeah. But perhaps she didn't understand that everybody that watched the show wanted an Aunt B.
Yeah, she couldn't have. I mean, she couldn't have understood. Nobody could understand
the power of her character.
Yes,
Andy.
I love that. What a great character role. Yeah. Well, I love that. I love the fact that we've had an opportunity to chat for a little bit.
Me too.
And it's been good. I think we have to do this again because you're going. When are you traveling next?
I'm going to Namibia, Africa in March.
Okay, pictures, please. That'll be good.
Oh,
and
yes. Yes,
because that's your project.
Yes, sand dunes and whatnot. I was actually invited over to speak, but they've got, it's beautiful.
So why don't we do this? When you get back, and we're working the schedule, we'll have you come back in again and let's talk about that journey and that experience.
Okay.
And as you are, because you're going to have stories, not only about, oh, this was incredible, here's a great picture, but I believe that you will, by the time we're back together, you will have experienced some of the power of your program.
Yes.
Of where you're out discovering, you're sharing stories, and you're meeting new people, and you're going to be able to say, Carl, you never believe what happened with this, and you're going just out of love and compassion for humanity, and then you're going to start receiving these things.
Oh, yeah.
And then those are rich stories. I think it's important that we share the real stories of the power of engagement, the power that is truly there when we either are the conduit for compassion and giving, celebrating, creating, or the recipient.
Yes.
And I think it's powerful both ways. And I think that's important. It's so funny. Here we are during the holidays. We haven't said Christmas very many times, but yet that's all we've talked about.
Yes.
It's that spirit of the spirit of kindness, the spirit of giving, and of celebrating life.
Yes. And that made me think about something, Carl.
Yes.
We're taught to think about this. You've got to learn this in school. This is what you're going to do when you grow up. Ba, 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 ba.
Right.
So we're constantly being pulled away from our inner child.
That's right.
We lose that sense of awe and abandonment and that joy because we take all that other stuff on. So Christmas is a time when it connects us back to whether we are remembering specific moments,
Right.
but it connects us to that inner child again. And you get people opening doors. Hi, Merry Christmas.
Yes.
They would never engage any other time of the year.
Happy spring. Happy 4th of July.
Right.
Happy President's Day.
Right. Have a good day.
What a wonderful way to wrap our hour, because the idea. You just talked about something. I just realized this way. You're talking about those childhood memories and those simplistic ways of being. You're talking about things that are happening, the power of those memories. But those memories you and I are doing right now. Do you know how much in the future we'll talk about this very moment?
Yeah.
When we're together next time.
Yeah.
You remember? You remember that lady that wrote in and not only did she know the words to the song and the names of the people, but she made a video. She recorded it, and here it is. That's going to happen.
Wonderful.
That's going to happen, and then we're like, and we're going to do this, but it's going to be bigger.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that show, we're gonna have belly laughs, and it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
And you're going to run off and hike a mountain, and I'm going to go have a cup of chai tea. That is going to be great.
Yes.
That's the beauty of life. Merry
Yes.
Christmas, friend.
Merry Christmas to you, my new friend.
Yes, that's
my new
right.
friend indeed.
That's right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Life in the Carolinas podcast. If you enjoyed your time with us, please visit the show's website at lifeinthecarolinas.com. Join our mailing list, and we'll keep you updated every week on what we have coming up and other interesting things around the Carolinas. We value you as a podcast subscriber. We'll see you next week. And remember what Carl says, it's never a bad time for a good story.